Hello everyone, I'm Tudor. I'm the Vice President of CompSoc, and I'm really excited to welcome you to CompSoc's first ever virtual EGM. So just to give you a quick overview of how the event's going to run, first of all, we'll have a nice little talk from Thought Machine, one of our great sponsors. It's a talk on build systems, and then we're going to be moving on. We will be voting on, and the talk will have a Q&A afterwards as well, of course. And then we will move on to and vote on some proposed constitutional changes. And then after that, it's the big moment that everyone's waiting for. And that, of course, that means electing new committee members. And I'm referring to a first-year representative and a treasurer for CompSoc. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Peter from Thought Machine, who's going to be telling us all about build systems. So Peter, it's up to you.
As, as Tudor just said, I'm going to be talking about building software at scale at Thought Machine. So, I'm going to be talking through some of the issues that we've had and how we overcame them, and some of the open source tooling that we've built around that. So as I said, I'm Peter. I'm the CIO of Thought Machine. So Thought Machine is creating Vault, which is a next generation core banking system. So that's the system of record for financial transactions and user accounts in a bank. So it's a very critical part of what banks do, and has traditionally been the domain of mainframes and COBOL and all sorts of horrible things like that. So we're trying to bring them into the 21st century and provide them with modern technology. So what do I do at the company? So my team looks after infrastructure, so production infrastructure, so things like Postgres and Kafka and Istio that sit underneath Vault, things like releases and testing, and CI and build tooling. And this talk is going to focus around the last one of those, and as I said, some of the open source work that we've done to support this. So what does it mean for us to build software? So we have about 200 engineers at Thought Machine now. So they're actively coding, they're building Vault as a microservice architecture. So they're actively coding on over 250 services. And we develop all of this in one Git repo, a monorepo. This is approximately 3.1 million lines of code now. So there's about 112,000 commits in it. That gives you a little bit of a sense of the scale of what we're dealing with. And that leads to about 150 merge pull requests every day. So every one of those pull requests is tested exhaustively pre-merge and then auto-deployed to our development environments as fast as possible. So once upon a time, we had a single build that did all of that. But at the scale we're at now, that just doesn't work. The one single build became a huge drain on our development and took way too long to get it through. So it got to the point of taking hours to get people's code into production. And that's not how we want to work. We want to be faster than that. So we have a bit of a flow about how code gets built at Thought Machine. So our developers work away, they send a pull request. That pull request, we automatically run tests against it and verify that it's good. And it goes out for code review. So all of our code is reviewed by other engineers before it's submitted. So code reviews, as you all probably know, is a super important tool to both ensure the quality of code for people to make good suggestions about how to improve it, but also to spread the knowledge about how it works to other people in the company. Then after the code has been reviewed and merged, it's then automatically built and deployed to our development environments. Now, that sounds kind of simple, right? So what's hard about that? So we've got two parts of this that are done very automatically. So the running the tests, and the question there is which of the tests should we run? We've got lots of them, as I'll come back to in a bit. And then the building and deployment. So, how do we do that efficiently? Do we need to build everything, or do we just build some parts of it? So the efficiency here is pretty key. So on a smaller repo, just running all of the tests is a pretty decent strategy, right? But in the repository I described before in our code at Thought Machine, we've got around 100,000 test cases. So running all of those end to ends can literally take hours. right? This is running the kind of the whole gamut of tests, from very small, fast unit tests to bigger and heavier integration tests that can take quite some time. So what we want to do is identify and run just the relevant set of tests to the change that has been made. And similarly, we'd ideally not want to build everything after when we come to deploy it. So we want to be able to reuse work that we've done before. These kinds of issues are the domain of the build system to solve. So that's really the system that should be able to answer these questions and do these things efficiently. So the build system that we use is called Please. So this is an in-house system that we've created. It's designed to prioritize correctness and speed, and it works across all of our languages. So that's Go, Python, JavaScript, and Java, and TypeScript as well. The front-end guys have been doing a lot of migration to that. So it provides a single consistent interface across all of these languages. So you can write please build or please test at your command line, and you don't have to know or care whether you're running a Go test or a Python test or whatever. We came up with the idea of please in the pub one evening. So obviously that's a traditional site of British innovation. And we asked ourselves all the traditional questions like how hard can it be and that kind of thing. This ended up being a big success for us. It's introduced the company to Go, which is now our biggest programming language, and also became our biggest open source project. So obviously the performance of something like this is super important. So there's this classic argument that programmers, what do? You're sitting there coding away, and then you have to wait for something to build. That's downtime. You're waiting for your code to compile, and people wander off. They probably don't literally have sword fights on chairs, but they might. But you go away and check your email or something. You get distracted, and you come back. And when you come back, your flow is a little bit broken. So the faster you can do this thing, the faster you can turn it around, the more productive our engineers are, and the happier they are. So this is a really high priority thing for Please. So a little bit about how Please works as a system. So it stores its metadata in build files. So these are kind of analogous to make files, or if you've used something like Gradle, this is build.gradle or pom.xmls for Maven or whatever, right? There's lots of build systems out there that typically have metadata in these files to describe relationships between the different things that can be built and instructions about how we build it. In Please's case, these build files normally take the form of declarative build instructions. I'll show you an example of one in a moment. But it's actually a real programming language, and it's a custom in-house programming language that's implemented specifically for it. It's a syntactic subset of Python with some sort of slightly different semantics, and designed to be more deterministic and do a minimal set of things that we need. And having these files and the consistency of them is key to being able to work consistently across all the different languages that I described before. So here's an example of a build file. This shows just a small snippet of a couple of Python files. So you have a Python library, so that's a logical unit of Python code, and a test on it, which is described as a Python test. And in each case, we define the sources that these things are going to operate on and dependencies between them. We have this kind of distinctive syntax, this double slash and so forth. And that's a way of referring to these different targets either within this build file or in another part of the repository. And so all of this can be parsed by the system very efficiently, and it can understand the relationships between these different things. And that becomes a key building block to all of the work that we're able to do with the system. So this gives you a little bit of a flavor of what it's like to run. So this is a little animation showing what Please does when you run it. And this is me running it on my dev workstation yesterday, I think, where you can see it's going away, building a whole lot of different things, orchestrating a lot of different build targets across a subsection of our repo. All of these things are being built in parallel, and it's basically scheduling all of this work and ensuring that things are being built as fast and as efficiently as possible. So a critical property is this concept of dependencies that I mentioned before. So we're very explicit about what we mark in these build files, and that means that whenever someone changes something, we can always know exactly what will be affected by that change. So that lets us answer the first question that I raised before. How do we know what set of tests to run? Well, it turns out that when you've got a principled system like this, it's actually quite easy to answer that question. In Please, you can literally run please query changes, and it will tell you all of the things that have changed. And it will give you then the list of everything that we need to run to be confident that our pull request hasn't broken any tests and that everything's going to work. And again, this is in a lot of kind of older, more traditional systems. If you're using Make or something, it's not really able to answer these questions in the same way. So this is a really, really powerful thing and a fundamental building block to a lot of what we do with it. Then the other question I raised before was, do we need to build everything? So clearly the answer is no. We might have built some things before, and the knowledge of this and how to do it is built into Please. So it has powerful and very critically correct incrementality. So it only needs to rebuild the minimal set of things that have changed each time versus what it's done before. Correctness is a really important concept for this kind of thing. So our developers have to trust that it will do the right thing. And if you've ever worked on a system like this with a build system that isn't correct and sometimes does the wrong things, you're always second guessing it. Something goes wrong and you think maybe I need to do a clean build to get the right answer. And our goal that we're pretty sure we've achieved internally is that our developers never need to question this. They're confident that Please will always give them what it should. And it accomplishes this by using hashes of the file contents to identify changes of everything. So again, like older systems might have used timestamps or something like that. There's a lot of ways that can go wrong. And we instead do it by tracking everything by hashes, which means that we can be totally confident that we know exactly what's going in and when something changes. So going back to the flow we had before about how code gets built, we've figured out how to do these tests quickly, and we figured out how to do the builds and deploys quickly. So as I said before, when we had a single monolithic build, this was about sort of up to maybe a couple of hours or something like that. And by applying things like this and sharding up parts of our build, we got it down to about sort of 5 to 10 minutes, something like that, for people to submit their code and get it into production, which is obviously a huge improvement and a big quality of life improvement for our developers. And that covers most of what Thought Machine was doing up until maybe about a year ago or something like that. So at that point, the company started getting even a bit bigger again. We were pretty efficient about this stuff, but we were now starting to bang into the limits of what we could actually do on a single CI machine. So we provision all of this in the cloud, on Google Cloud, and our CI machines are about 16 CPUs. We've got about 20 to 40 of them, something like that. So we can parallelize by increasing those, but it's really not practical and not efficient to increase the size of the individual ones. We obviously start paying quite a lot of money for it, and we're not making good use of it. A principal solution to this is to spread this build across multiple machines. So within each of them, we can submit individual build actions out to different servers that are then able to execute them and send the results back. So there's an open API for this, and there's a link there in the talk on GitHub, of which there's a community of us, of a small set of build systems that are making use of this to be able to talk to a set of common servers that can provide this execution for them. This is all based on gRPC, which is a pretty neat bit of tech that came out of Google for doing fast, efficient communication between services. So the way that this works is basically, for a developer, they're sitting there coding away on their machine, and when they run Please Build, it now transparently sends the request up to a set of servers, uploads whatever files it has to. Those servers distribute the work out to any of the other dev machines in the office. So each of them might get, say, like one action out of the hundreds that need to be performed. They execute it and send it back. So now at this point, we're not limited by the size of any one machine. This is more limited by the total size of the fleet, which for us is pretty big, so we've got quite a lot of developers. So this obviously has a really nice property of scaling with the size of the company. As we grow, the amount of compute here goes up. We also have what we call a hi-fi deployment, so a high-fidelity deployment on Google Cloud that we use for building release artifacts and so forth. So that's about something like 400 to 600 CPUs worth. So there's quite a bit of power there. The lower fidelity one that we use for local development around the actual developers' machines is actually a little bit bigger. It's about 1,000 CPUs now or something like that. But obviously we try to limit how much we do with them because the developers are doing other things with their machines as well. There's a lot of advantages here besides parallelism as well. So this leans very heavily on distributed caching, which means that everything only needs to be built once. Right? If I need to build something, lots of things have already been compiled by someone else somewhere in the company, and my machine is actually pulling down results that have already been calculated. It means our developers don't get big CPU spikes, slowing down their dev machines. So needing to compile a lot of things and suddenly needing a lot of CPU can obviously slow down the interactivity of the machine, and it also means the builds become very highly deterministic. So if different machines are producing slightly different actions because they're embedding like timestamps or local paths or something, these typically in this remote execution scheme, you tend to agree on it a lot more because you're not rebuilding things on every single different machine. So again, this all plays into making all of this efficient and making it as fast as possible for our developers. So again, going back to this little animation I showed you before, this is Please running in remote mode, where you can see it. You can see part of at the top kind of moving up and down, where it's actually executing some things on my machine. So for various reasons, some actions can request to run locally on a machine, and it's actually seamlessly stitching this work back and forth between some local work and a much bigger fleet or a much bigger set of remote pieces of work that are being submitted off to other machines, where there's about 100 of them. So there's actually more than I actually have room to show in the terminal window where I was reporting this. But obviously that makes a huge difference to the speed at which it can get through this stuff. So quickly about the Please project. So Please is all open source. If you want to know more about it, you can find out more on the website please.build, which you can see there in the slides, or you can check out the code on GitHub. So that's github.com/thoughtmachine/please. If you're interested in the company in general, then you can find out more about us at thoughtmachine.net. Or we are Thought Machine on Instagram, which shows slightly more of the sort of fun side and some of the things we get up to when we're not actually developing so much. So I hope that gives a little bit of a flavor of some of the problems we've seen here and some of the ways we worked around them. If you're interested in that, please do get in touch. But for now, I guess for anyone that's following along, do we have any questions?
Hello again. I'm going to be taking the
Hi.
questions from the people. We do have a couple of questions. The first one was asked a bit earlier, and it was, is Please open source, which I think you answered at the end of the presentation, so there's no point in answering it now. Then we had another question.
Sure.
Does parallelizing not increase the errors as each machine can fail individually?
So it doesn't increase the errors in terms of we're very careful that when it fails, the worst thing that can happen is it can fail to build a thing. So it never fails by building something wrong, which would be quite catastrophic. In general, though no, there's a little more complexity in managing like a distributed fleet of machines versus just running something on one machine. But it actually tends to increase the reliability because we were seeing a lot of issues around tests. Like if let's say we're running 10 tests at once on a local machine, sometimes we'd see issues with tests failing due to like resource starvation, like they're running out of CPU or thrashing the disk too heavily or something like that. In general, it tends to make it more reliable because rather than centralizing it on one machine, we're spreading it out across lots of them, so you don't see so much contention around that.
Okay, I think that answers it. The next question is, do you have any statistics about the efficiency of Please?
That's an interesting question. So in general, I guess it's a little bit hard to do like a proper A/B test because obviously at this point we're way past being able to kind of swap our systems to some other kind of build system. In general, I think we're seeing it's well over 90% reuse of build actions. So when our developers are sending pull requests and so forth, like literally 90% of the things that it would do have already been done by another machine and are getting reused by that thing. So this is obviously a pretty huge thing, right? We're well past the point of being able to keep up with our developer demand without some of those efficiencies in place, or at least without us paying a whole lot more money to Google Cloud to provision a lot more machines for it.
Yeah. Next question. Why did you make the decision to migrate from JavaScript to TypeScript?
And I'm probably not quite the best person to ask about this. So our front end team they've got a little bit of a mix of both. So still got some JavaScript around, and they've got a lot more TypeScript. I think they like the type safety. They like the community around it. So I think TypeScript's been kind of quite widely embraced by a lot of parts of the community. But in general, I think we see a lot of trend to this, particularly in bigger projects. As I mentioned before, like we have quite a bit of Python, but now we have more Go. Even on the Python side, we're starting to introduce type annotations and that type of thing. When you get to a certain scale, it does become easier to work with these things when you've got a bit more of that information, which is an interesting thing. And I really enjoy dynamic languages like that, where it's very easy to get started, very very easy to script something out. But your considerations when you're working on a team of 5 or 10 developers who aren't so familiar with the code are a little different. And so I think the advantages of TypeScript being more explicit about that stuff were probably really really good for the front end guys. I mean, they've definitely found it a big win.
Yeah. Next is, does the overhead for so many parallel machines not become inefficient at some point?
So there is inefficiency. There's more latency doing it this way. Running an individual build action takes longer because you have to move files around over the network. We spend quite a bit of time optimizing this, so we have to be quite careful about like where things are placed on the network, and be careful not to send too much stuff like in and out of the office, for example. There isn't a lot of inefficiency due to having too many machines. So the more you've got in the fleet, basically, the better the scheme gets. But it wouldn't work very well if you had only 10 of them, for example, right? At that point, you'd be better off doing everything on your local machine and not paying the network overhead. So the parallelization actually like gets better the more of them that there are.
Yeah. We've actually got a couple more questions. First, when tests are they run locally or across all the machines?
So tests are distributed across all the machines as well. So we treat running a test as very similar to running any other build action, right? The test executes, it runs, it produces some results files, and then we bring those back and interpret them. So they're distributed across this fleet as well. And that's pretty important. In general, tests tend to take longer to run than a lot of the sort of individual compilation steps would. So distributing them is at least as big a win as distributing the rest of it.
Yeah. And one last question. How does Please handle building artifacts from different languages?
So Please we designed it deliberately to be very generic. So the core of it doesn't have a lot of knowledge of the specific languages and how to build them. That's all handled in the actual build language itself that I described before. So you can very easily program it to accept different languages, and it treats everything as very very generically. So the build action for let's say Python might be running and doing a little bit of type annotation, and we produce a little zip file from it at the end. Similarly for Java, we produce a jar file. For Go, we're compiling like binary artifacts or something. But Please doesn't really care about that. You just tell it like this thing is going to run and it's going to produce these outputs. And at the end of it, it gets those back, and it can run all of those very easily. Obviously, you're still limited by how much each language can fundamentally interact with one another. So if you're programming in, say, Java and Kotlin, you may be able to very easily take those two and put them together and integrate them. Obviously, you're going to have to do a little bit more work if it's, say, Java and Python. and please doesn't unfortunately magically solve that problem for you.
Yeah, okay. Looks like that's it in terms of questions. So,
Okay.
yeah, since we're not getting any more now, then thank you very much, Peter, for coming to our event. We hope you enjoyed it. We definitely enjoyed having you. And yeah, well, thank you very much
Thanks
for
very much. And
hosting such a great talk. And now that this is done, it is, I think, time to move to the next section of our event, which is the one regarding constitutional changes. And for this, I would like to introduce or to call the president of CompSoc, Alexandra. So, Alex.
Hello, everyone. You might know me already. I'm the president of CompSoc, and I'm here to kind of explain the first things that we will be voting on. I think you should be seeing a slide deck pretty soon. I'm just waiting for that. All right, yeah, it's there. So it is voting time, and this is how, things get exciting. We will first have a few constitutional changes, and then we will vote for the treasurer and the first year rep. All right. The first proposal, let me just read it out to you because the text might be small. But basically, the way we want to change the rules is we want to be more explicit about what qualifies as gross misconduct. So when a person commits gross misconduct, then they are liable to get excluded out of the society entirely. And I just wrote the committee has the power to ban a person from our society, um, for instance, if they commit discrimination, sexual harassment, and any form of violence. This is just for us to really understand, that we are a society that is not tolerant of discrimination and harassment and other such things. And we just want to make it clear that we stand by, these decisions. Um, Sorry, I'm going back. So I think now you should open Democracy app. You should have a link. Yeah, there. If you received an email with the key, you should log in. I think you're able to do so automatically. Make sure to do so. And you should see 2020 Constitutional Proposal number 1. You can choose yes, no, or abstain. So we're just going to wait for the result. I believe we are waiting for the results now. Make sure to click. You can also abstain, so you don't have to say yes or no. We're just gonna give it 2 minutes, I think, from what it looks. But yeah, so we're gonna have two of these proposals. They're somewhat different, but they're rather small, I would say. We just want to keep the constitution updated because it is getting a bit old, and of course we do accept pull requests, I mean, to our repository on GitHub. When it comes to the constitution or anything else, we're very much open source, so any other suggestion that you may have, please go ahead and tell us. We want to become better as a society. So yeah, just waiting for the results to come in. This is exciting. First time we're doing this online. Okay, we're starting to get in votes. And then do let us know on Discord or any other platform what you thought about this event and generally what you think about our society. We are experimenting with all sorts of new events. Tomorrow we have a very exciting academic families event. It's going to be a game night on Discord, and you'll be able to meet your family for the first time if you haven't already. Play games with them, get to know them a bit better. And also, if you're not part of a family already, we can hook you up then. So I would definitely recommend going for it. I, for one, I am definitely attending and dragging my kids into it. So, what time is the family again? That's a very good question. I think it's in the evening at some point. Just let me check since we're waiting for this. Yeah, we're getting the votes. Oh, so sorry, the time is 8 tomorrow. It's 8 British time. And the way it's gonna work is just like a normal game night if you've ever been. Basically, we have a bunch of rooms in our Discord channel, another Discord, sorry, server, and you get to play whatever you want. We can play Among Us, you can play Scribble. There's so many choices, honestly. There's a lot of online games these days. Definitely recommend it. And you can even come without your family, but ideally you would get to know them in this time. So yeah, I'd love to see how it's gonna go. How are people doing with their families? We have a result, and it is yes, this proposal has been passed. This is awesome. What that means for us is we are going to merge this pull request in the very near future, and our constitution will be updated and so on. Let's just go on to the next one. All right, so this is our second constitution proposal. This is quite different. This says this just changed a couple of things. If you notice from the pull request, the only word that changed is elected. We just added elected committee instead of committee. Why is that? Let me explain. The reason why we did this is because our committee is getting very large and we have two types of committee members. We have people that were elected, so the people that we're electing now, for example, and then we have SIG leaders, the leaders of our special interest groups, some of whom are not voted for democratically, but they are two different groups. And we thought, wait a minute, so when we vote for a new special interest group to be formed, then, do we let SIG leaders vote for that too? We just thought it was a bit strange, especially because now I think we have more SIG leaders than we do elected committee members. So it just wanted to reflect the fact that our organization is getting bigger. Make sure to vote. I think the vote should be open now. Again, it's yes, no, abstain. It aims to limit SIG creation or dissolution to elected committee members only. So we're going to get in the votes. Right. These are the only two proposals that we have in terms of constitution. But as I said, if you have any ideas about how we can make our constitution better, just check out our GitHub and, you know, tell us, is there something we're doing wrong or is there something we can do better? We're always open to ideas. You make a pull request and it doesn't get merged until it gets approved by our members, of course. Right. So this token thing is very new to us. We'd love to hear how your experience was with it. Just you can text us on Discord. You can tell us about it through email, whatever you want. Um, we're only human, and our committee is really doing their best to make this experience as good as possible. Hopefully, it's pretty obvious that the production quality is absolutely fantastic. And again, congratulations to Ali, and thank you so much for helping us. Their production has really made these events much better. And I don't know, imagine, we would have to do this via Zoom somehow. Wouldn't quite be the same, would it? Just getting the votes in. Yeah, looking good, looking good. We also have two ways of streaming now. We're streaming through both Twitch and YouTube. Let us know if any of these platforms is better than the other. As I said, I love feedback. Gotta love feedback. We're gonna make one of those forms soon. And the result is yes, again. Thank you so much for accepting these proposals. Both of them were coming from me, actually. And now it is time for something even more important. If you go back to the slides, I think there's
Hello
anyway,
again.
it's basically just time to vote.
Okay, so with that being done, it is now time for the most exciting part of the evening, which is obviously the elections for positions within our committee. And first of all, we're going to be voting for a first-year representative. How that's going to work is that we will now play the pre-recorded speech videos of all of our candidates, and then they will all join a Q&A session together and answer your questions the, as they see fit. We're trying to kind of really emulate the way that EGMs worked physically in previous years, and this is, I think, the closest that we can get online, really. So, as I said, we will now play the recordings of the candidate speeches for first year representative.
Hello, my name is Kao and I'm from South Korea. And now I'm a first year BSc Geography student. My interest in computer science has been grown since I was in high school. As I was a member of the Computer Society and took a C++ class, I realized how computer science skills could be applied to various fields such as humanities and geosciences. Also, such interest increased as I came to Edinburgh this year, as I took a course called Fundamental Methods in Geography. I learned that coding skills are one of the major components in measuring and analyzing geographical data. My major, geography, is an interdisciplinary study, which means geography is linked to many diverse areas. So, if I became the first year representative of CompSoc, I'd like to contribute to diversifying the CompSoc and leading the CompSoc to great success with my different perspectives. Besides, since now I'm a public director of Edinburgh Korean Student Society called EKSS, I'd like to apply the experience in the KSS to the ComSoc in terms of making more creative events and better marketing in social media. If possible, I'd like to arrange many joint events with the EKSS as well. Please vote me for the first year representative of CompSoc. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Aiden. I'm from South Africa and I'm a first year computer science student here in the University School of Informatics. I'm also a rugby player. I'm very, very happy to be here in Edinburgh and very excited to be a member of CompSoc. I've known about CompSoc since before I even came to the university. South Africa, and I'm a first year computer science student here in the University School of Informatics. I'm also a rugby player.
Hello. So until this small issue is solved, which I'm sure is going to be within a few minutes at most, I'll just give you a brief overview of what is still to come. So now we were listening to the speeches of the candidates for the position of a first year representative. And well, I'm thinking before their videos start working again, we could skip straight to a live Q&A with the candidates. If that would probably be slightly more interesting to fill these minutes, so we don't have like, you know, times when we're not doing anything. So, yeah, please welcome our candidates for the position of first year representative on the screen now. Here they are.
Hey everyone.
Yep. Hello. Let's see. It's probably going to take a while to get some questions because there's a slight delay between what we're saying and the time that it's streamed at. So I would wait for a minute. Already we have the first question, and that is, what ideas for online or socially distanced events do you have? Feel free to answer. It's for all of you. It's not aimed at someone in particular.
All right, cool. Can I make an answer
Can
first?
I answer? Okay, you go first.
Oh, both are. Okay. So one of the things we've been doing in the informatics school has been InfPals, where some older students have been helping us with problems and coaching us through stuff, and we do it on Microsoft Teams. But in the beginning, we always take the first minute to do an icebreaker, and every week it's a different icebreaker. Like some days we play Scriblio online, and playing those type of games together online is really fun, and it also helps make everyone get to know each other, because sometimes when you have online calls, it's easy for people to like just draw into themselves, and this makes everyone really comfortable. So it's been a lot of fun, and I think that's always a cool idea.
Okay, who was next? Do you want to answer, Kyle, or?
Can I answer now? Yeah. Can I?
Yeah.
Actually, I think the joint event between the Geography Society called GeoSo and CompSoc could be really good alternative, because I believe that geography and computer science has really like very common thing, which means in terms of space. Actually, I believe that geography is the discipline of analyzing space, but I think this space could be applied to computer science, which means like I think the space created by computer science could be a space, and also the space in the game also could be a space. So I think so for this reason, I believe that there are very many common things between geography and computer science. So I hope to hold any joint event and any workshop about the common things between two disciplines, between two societies. So I think this alternative really good plan for CompSoc and Geography Society as well. So yeah.
Okay, does anyone else want to answer that, or should we move on?
Yeah, I would just like to say that I think it would be a good idea to keep doing the thing that we had today, like with Thought Machine, where we had someone come in and talk to us. Also, I think another good thing, we have our CompSoc Discord server available to anyone who wishes to join it. I think something good that can come from that is having maybe some of the older students show any personal projects that they're working on, just sharing their screen, letting us maybe ask questions, just see what's going on. So we have ways of speaking to each other and just running small icebreaker sessions, like the first speaker said. I think that would kind of get everyone together, despite us being physically distanced.
Okay, that's really good. I answered a couple of good points there. Yuto, do you have anything to say about this, or should we move on now?
It's fine, we can move on.
Okay, so I'm gonna continue with a very serious question now. What are your thoughts on refried beans? I feel like this is crucial in deciding the next first year representative, so I want you to really answer
Full of
this one.
protein and very yummy.
Protein. Okay. Okay.
Good for you. Highly recommend.
Oh, sorry. Could you repeat that, please? Repeat the question, please. Sorry about that.
Thoughts on refried beans?
What are refried beans?
Oh no.
I think
A crucial part of your
names
diet is what they are.
self-explanatory.
But if they've been fried already, why would you need to fry them again?
Make them
For the
refried.
texture.
Yeah, I really
I'm
questioning
confused. I'll
trying
stay
a lot
with
of
this.
things when you're in Scotland. Like, I don't think that's good.
I mean, it's not a
Always fry
burrito
things
without
over and
a
over.
good portion of refried beans, is it?
True that.
I can't keep up with this.
Well,
I'm just gonna
well,
abstain.
it's my favorite food, you know.
Okay, so now moving on to something a bit more boring. How will you aim to represent first years in particular?
Oh, I can tackle this. This year's been really difficult, and it's difficult for the potential first year representative too, because we won't know every aspect of your life, and we certainly can't contact you in person in any way. So the only thing we can do is watch what you do online. That sounds a bit weird, but discover traces of you online. That's still weird. Read through Piazza posts, Discord posts, any personal feedback, and any personal, I don't know, what do you call this, Q&A, and grab an idea of what you guys are thinking in whole. And this really helps understand you when you're far away, because the only means of messaging right now is through text and possibly voice in a video, which is pretty blatant and boring. The fact that I'm a class rep also helps here, because I can get a grasp on your academic side with the help of teachers and staff. And together, I think I can get a pretty accurate representation of all first-year students in informatics this year.
Cool. I'd like to answer the question.
Can I
next
do
about
Okay,
second?
does anyone else have anything to add to that? Okay, Kyle, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. Can I say now? As you two mentioned before, I believe that we are in really difficult situation due to COVID. So actually, like, for example, most of people are studying online, so it's so difficult to studying on campus right now. So which means I think it is more difficult to to hold any various events like last year. But so the one solution I gave is to collaborate with many other society, which means our society in other many areas. For example, as I mentioned before, I think collaboration with geography society is really nice because actually because we can make any other brainstorming things and any brainstorming analyze with other fields. So I think it will be really good solution for both CompSoc and JobSoc. Also, I think with also I think collaboration with archaeology soc and CompSoc will be good solution too because actually I believe they have common in terms of any analyzing data. So I think to diversify the contents of CompSoc, I believe that collaboration with other fields and other society will be good for CompSoc. So I think it is a chance to show why CompSoc is really nice and could be applied to other fields and easy to get into other disciplines. So I think it will be really nice solution. Thank you.
Aidan, I think you
Cool. Can I have a
might have
crack
had
at it
something
next?
to add to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Tudor. So when I arrived in Edinburgh about a month ago, I came from South Africa, and because of that, I had to self-isolate for 2 weeks. So I really understand how difficult it is for students being out of their comfort zone and everything being so decentralized and not having a friend group or a family group around you. And from what I've experienced with CompSoc so far, it does make you feel like you're part of a community. And if you guys read my manifesto, you'll know something I'm really passionate about is including all the first year students in that. And we have WhatsApp groups, we got our own Discord, and I think a microcosm of this is like when we have online calls and sometimes everyone has their mics off and their cameras off, and it just takes one person to open their mic and their camera and say hi everyone, and then the whole call comes to life. It just takes one person to reach out and make that first step, and then everybody gets along better. And I'm really passionate about this, so that's the person I want to be.
You've made some very good points there about, self-isolation as a way of understanding being isolated from others. That's pretty interesting. Artie, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say that what Aidan said was really important there, that we have to be active in online communities this year, which is very important. As I said in my manifesto, that I'm very active on both Discords, and I think no matter who gets elected as first year rep, it's very important that they're very active in the community to make sure that anyone can contact them at any time and kind of they don't feel that there has to be that kind of professional boundary between your first year rep and your normal first year. So I think keeping the relationship between the first years and the first year rep kind of very casual is very important to make sure that we can speak freely and find out what the first years want.
And Yuto, do you have any thoughts on this?
Did I
think Yuto went
not
first.
answer first?
Oh yeah, sorry. We have so many questions.
I mean, I could just say that you guys can read my
We're probably
manifesto
gonna be
again
here
if you
for a
want,
while.
but that's about it.
Yeah, I think most people who are voting have probably read the manifestos, so it's fine. Okay, so another Interesting question. Would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? I see that has put you guys into very deep thoughts. Who's
It's the most
come up
difficult
with
question
first
of the
answer?
evening.
My imagination isn't running well right now.
Yeah, you were not prepared for this.
Can you guys imagine being bitten by a duck's bill the size of a horse's mouth? I think I would choose the smaller 100. The
Do they
horde.
have teeth?
The giant bill, it scares me
They
too
don't
much.
have teeth.
No, but that bill is so hard. They have tiny, tiny little teeth.
That wouldn't.
Have you
I
ever been
think
chased
I'd
by a
pick
goose? You know how scary
the
those things
single
are.
horse-sized
Ducks are kind of like
duck.
geese.
I mean, it's just action economy,
it's like
isn't it? You
people
want
are
to make
mostly
sure that
going
you're all
for it.
focusing on one target and not 100 little ones.
That's true. And if it's a rubber duck and not like a proper duck, I prefer the horse-sized one.
You're right.
Could be a rubber horse.
Oh,
I mean, it would deafen itself with the size,
Yeah,
like with the
it's
sound of the
probably-
smack against the road.
Yeah, and it's probably easier to run away from a
horse is
horse-sized
most-
duck than 100 duck-sized horses.
Yes, that's a good point.
Imagine if it flew,
if it's
though.
100
That would be
duck-sized
terrifying.
horses, you also have to worry about not stepping on them. But if it's a horse-sized duck, you can just, fight it or run away without worrying anything about stepping onto little creatures.
Wow, you're fighting them. You should step on them. That's a
Okay,
key
so-
tactic.
I like to see that I've
But they just want to make you
created
prone
such
so
a-
they can just
such a
nibble your
discussion on
toes
this
away.
topic, but I think we have a question specifically for Yuto, and that is, why the Geography Society? Why not something more related, like physics, maths, bioengineering, or one of the many other technology societies? Oh wait, no, I think this was for Kyle, not Yuto yet.
I'm sorry, that'll be Kyle.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry. Could you repeat that, please?
so Kyle,
Sorry.
why the Geography Society specifically?
Yeah.
Why the Geography Society specifically? Why not something like physics, maths, or something like one of the technology societies?
Oh, so do you mean that why Geography Society is more specific than physics and chemistry? Yeah, society, right? So isn't it your question, right?
Yeah. So why specifically? Why specifically do events with a Geography Society as opposed to what like physics or maths or
Oh.
something more closely
Oh,
related?
okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Actually, geography was only an example, as I mentioned before, because actually I'm a first year BSc geography student, so actually geography was easy to explain when I made speech and get into writing manifesto. But I believe that CompSoc also could be collaborated with other society, including physics, maths, but I believe that physics and maths is really similar to CompSoc. So I believe that so the reason why I mentioned GeoSoc is I want to explore brand new common thing between geography and it could be other fields, I don't know, but actually geography was really example. So the one thing I want to say is if I be the representative, I want to arrange any collaborating event with other many society and other many fields, including geography or math, physics. So do not think. So I think I do not think about. I only tend to collaborate with geography. So don't worry about it. But I really want to pursue any convergence with other many society and other many disciplines with CompSoc. So yeah, that's my answer.
Okay,
I
so
think the
now for
true
a
answer is that
more
Kyle's a
general
geography
question that I
spy
think
sent to
everyone
take
should
over
get.
CompSoc.
Sorry.
That's a
Sorry.
bold statement to make.
I'm sorry, there's like a 15-second delay
Sorry,
between
I couldn't
every
hear.
person,
Sorry.
so like I can't, you know.
Okay, so
So could you
ignoring
repeat that,
the
please?
fact
I
that
think I
Kyle
couldn't
might be
hear
a
clearly.
geography
Yeah.
spy. Anyway, I think we
No.
can move on.
No worries about that.
And I want to ask just a very general question to everyone. How do you want to improve the society? What do you want to make better about CompSoc?
Okay, I have something on this right off the bat.
You can go first.
So one of the events that excited me the most when I discovered it before I even came to Edinburgh was Hack the Berg. And I think it might have been the most recent one, was pretty big. I saw some videos on YouTube and stuff about it, but I'm into hackathons, and I think that must be the coolest event of the year for informatics students. And that's something that I really want to be a part of, and making Hack the Berg into like a really big deal. I'm just so excited for that. And obviously, on years like this, it will be difficult, but this year and in future years, I It's just me, or is this server better quality?
It is better quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it's a little
Okay,
faster.
so welcome back, everyone. If you're still watching, I think we're live now. The platform that we're using to make this call possible kind of crashed, so it wasn't just us that had this happen to them. But anyway, this is not ideal, but we will continue sort of from where we left off. And that is
All right.
with the
That-
Q&A for our first-year representatives. Yeah, and please, you can go now.
Right. So none of you guys heard my long talk.
Yeah.
I was talking about how to improve the society, right? So I felt that CompSoc in general wasn't very well prepared for COVID this year. We can see that because right. So I'm sorry, my chair just like lifted out of nowhere. So right, CompSoc wasn't very well prepared for COVID this year, and the reason why I think that is because while there are some online events and like I don't know voice chats and talks and events, not many second, third, and fourth year students know about these, and definitely not everyone's active on Discord, and there's a lack of communication between remote people, and it's really difficult during these times, and I know that, but CompSoc in general wasn't very well prepared, and I think I need to fix that. I don't have any particular solution in mind yet, and that's very embarrassing. But for example, academic families, it's been really I don't know, advertised a lot, and definitely a lot of first years are in that. But not many of the parents know about the specifics of how the academic families are going to run, and what the purpose is, and what academic families should do. And certainly not my parents. They didn't know a lot. And there's like a barrier of communication barrier in communication between society executives this year and the actual members. And while Discord's maybe active with a lot of the committee members, the actual hundreds of students who are just normal members of the society, I don't think they get the information, and they don't actively look for information either. It's a little hard to communicate with them, and CompSoc doesn't have the infrastructure to do that. Something like that is very crucial, and I think I should improve that. I don't know how, but I'm going to try my best, and you guys should just root for me, hopefully.
All right. So who is next?
Can I do next?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, as Yuto mentioned, well, I really agree with that. Well, due to COVID situation, so there is no, what do I say? There is no, sorry, there is no strong any relationship in Discord, and in terms of contacting each other and making new something. So I really agree with that. So when it comes to this, I'd like to improve in terms of promoting any online events and on any online workshop with my experience in Korean society. As I mentioned in the recording, I was in the public director in Korean society, so I have experience. In promoting any events in Facebook page and other Instagram and other platforms. So I really do have experience with it. So with using this experience, I would like to promote any online events of CompSoc, as many as people. So, and do like, how do I say? to improve CompSoc in terms of promoting events. So I think my experience will help to improve CompSoc in terms of any promoting events in Discord. So I'm really confident at it. Thank you.
Nice. Anyone else have anything else to add? I should mention, I think this is going to be the last question that we're taking, and then we'll move on to the candidate videos because that's working again. So this is your final
I'd really
opportunity
like to
say
expand if
something.
that's okay. Unless you want to go first,
ahead.
Aiden.
No,
Okay.
no, I don't think
so-
you've gone yet. So you go.
I think it's quite hard to actually expand on what Yuto said. He raised some very good points. So I agree with the fact that the Discord kind of needs a bit more advertising. Considering how big the community there is, it is a very small little tab on the CompSoc website. It's not made quite clear that it's one of the main methods of communication. Another thing that I've noticed, I'm quite interested in the kind of computer security SIG, but what I think is the SIGs need to be kind of more open and have events crossing over between SIGs. So kind of just thinking of maybe the Game Society SIG can cross over with some other ones and kind of make some different themed ones. I don't know. There's a bit more cross communication between them because they feel kind of isolated with their own friend groups within them. Then I thought that maybe that there should be an expansion of events because currently it seems all the events are purely based on kind of information talks, which are very interesting, of course, but there should be more just general socializing events, not only for the first years as there are with academic families, although that is a step in the right direction. The number of those should be increased so it feels more like a general society where people can make friends, even though they're isolated quite a lot of the time. I also think that the SIGs could be promoted a bit more. A lot of people don't know that a lot of them exist, and a lot of them don't have very much information concerning them. So I'm just going to look at the SIGs right now. So there's Algo SIG, which is actually looking quite interesting with its financial kind of implications. But there hasn't been much information about it. Not a lot of people know that it exists, and not a lot of people know how to actually get in touch with the people running it. So I think if the SIGs were a bit more open, they'd probably get a lot more members, and it would become more of a community around them. Thank you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You made a few good points there. And Aiden, I think you wanted to go
Yeah,
next?
sorry, I know I have answered this question, but if I could add one thing, if that would be
No,
okay.
yeah, sure.
Sure. So, like, my ideas are very specific, and there's two things, both regarding the face of CompSoc, which I think is important considering how big the society is, and as everyone's mentioned already. The first is Instagram. Like CompSoc, as far as I know, the Instagram is basically non-existent, and that's pretty much the most powerful marketing tool right now for young people. So I think, you know, whether I become student rep or not, that's the project I'd like to be a part of, is making sure CompSoc has a really banging Instagram. And the other thing is the website. While it's super functional, I don't know if it's something that the committee would be interested in, but if they ever want to do sort of maybe a aesthetic renovation of the website, that's something I'd like to spearhead, because I have some experience in web dev and I actually run a successful web design business. So I'd love to make the CompSoc website like really impressive as well. Yeah, thank you.
So now, does anyone want to add anything, since this is the final question that you'll be able to take? It's your final opportunity to say something to the people before they see your videos and vote.
CompSoc heart you.
I actually just wanted to make a quick point that I was really glad to see that CompSoc kind of making the rules a bit more clear about inclusivity. It's just a good step in general, and in the industry, it being more inclusive, open to anyone from different identities, different backgrounds. So that's very nice to see.
Yeah, we're definitely glad it was voted for, that specific amendment to the Constitution. So if you have nothing else to add, I think we are now going to move on and watch the candidate videos again, because this time hopefully they will run better, and and then we will move on to the actual voting. So yeah, candidate videos for first year rep.
Hey everyone, I'm Aiden. I'm from South Africa and I'm a first year computer science student here in the University School of Informatics. I'm also a rugby player. I'm very happy to be here in Edinburgh and very excited to be a member of CompSoc. I've known about CompSoc since before I even came to the university, and I knew I wanted to join when I saw the really cool events like Hackleburg. I think that this year, when things have been so decentralized, it's more important than ever for students to have a community and family like CompSoc around them, and that's a feeling I'd like to extend to the whole first year cohort, which is why I want to be the first year student rep. I do have some experience in positions like this before. I've been on student committees and governing bodies, so I know about the time commitment involved. And I want to be involved, and I want to make a contribution. So I'm really happy to meet you all, excited to see you all, and look forward to making a contribution. Cheers.
Hi everyone, this is Aryan and I'm a first year informatics student. I'm running for the year 1 rep position because I think that there should be a greater focus on pushing career opportunities and making sure that everyone is at their greatest position when it comes time to applying for jobs or internships. I also want to drive forward this notion of continual learning and building essential developer skills which are not taught here in courses but are heavily demanded by employers. I believe I am well equipped to handle the challenges of this position because of my past experience as a web developer, freelancing, and also my altruistic nature. I hope to see everyone around soon. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Yuto. I'm a first year undergraduate student studying computer science, and I'm running for the first year rep for CompSoc. I arrived in Edinburgh 2 weeks ago, and so I have experience with remote learning and hybrid learning here in Edinburgh. I believe I can represent all students equally and emphasize and support them. As a current class rep for informatics, I have current ongoing experience for smooth communication between students and a higher body. I have relayed many of their academic concerns to the department and their responses back to the students. By becoming a first-year representative at the CompSoc, I believe I can do the same thing but for the social side, possibly more. I believe that the first years this year have excellence that's not very properly exposed. As a first-year representative, I will work hard to solve these problems, so please vote for me and your life may be improved. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Artie and I am hoping to be your first year rep. This year I'm studying computer science with an unhealthy side portion of data science, but my main interests lie in cybersecurity and AI and where those two disciplines cross over. If you catch me when I'm not working, then you'll probably see me skating around Edinburgh or chilling in a Discord call with friends. I aim to make sure that the first years are represented well in CompSoc so that my peers don't miss out on any opportunities due to distance. I aim to be approachable, so you'll often see me on the Discord helping out with FP and finishing off my messages with a dummy amount of emoticons. As I mentioned in my manifesto, I hope to keep CompSoc inclusive for people of all skill levels and identities, because at the end of the day, we're all united in our love of tech and shitposting.
We're back, and this means that since we've now watched all the videos of the candidates and we've heard them answering some very important questions as well, this means it's time for voting. So the big moment has arrived. You now need to vote for the first year representative of CompSoc. So as with the constitutional changes, go to Democrat and vote for your candidate, and then after a few minutes I'll give you the results. Yeah, a note on Mr. Ron down at the bottom there, that's reopen nominations. So basically, if you really didn't like any of the candidates, then you should vote for Ron, and if Ron wins, then we will hold another round of elections. But considering the candidates that we have this year, I'm pretty sure there's going to be no need to do that. So, yeah. We're now going to give definitely going to give a couple more minutes for people to actually vote, because it's important everyone gets to vote for this specific position. And then I'll give you the results, and of course we're going to be moving on to the treasurer position afterwards, where we only have one candidate, but I'm sure she's going to be very excited to be talking to you for a bit and answering your questions. And yeah. Again, of course, we're terribly sorry for the issues that we had earlier. They were completely unexpected, and they were related to the very platform that we were using. And yeah, they were just beyond our control. Basically, it broke down all around Europe, so potentially thousands of meetings have been disrupted. But we've managed to switch the servers, sort of, and now it's working fine. And we have very strong reasons to believe that it's going to work fine until the end of this meeting. Okay, still waiting for vote results. Tension building up a bit. I'm really glad we got a lot of good questions for our first year rep candidates. I think, yeah, we saw a bit of them as people as well as some of their ambitions as members of the CompSoc committee, and that's amazing, especially for an online event which had some technical issues as well. It's been great. So thank you for the questions, and of course thank you to the candidates for answering them so well, and for still keeping their cool and just not letting themselves be put off by the awkward technical difficulties, really. We are still waiting for the results here. I'm waiting for the confirmation. I'd probably have to give it another minute because votes are still coming in. It seems like we have a lot of interest for this particular position and people want to vote for it, which is fantastic. I'm glad people are still engaged with this, even though we had that temporary setback. It's great to see that people have waited it out and are actually participating and voting now. Votes are still coming in. Okay, so I think we have our results in. And yes, I can now confirm that our winner for the position of first year representative in CompSoc is Artemis, or Artie, as they prefer being called. So that's our winner for this position. I think we had a slide for this. Yes, there it is. No, it's not up anymore. Yes, there it is. So congratulations, Artie. Welcome to the committee. You're in. And yeah, we're really glad to have a new person on board. We're going to be contacting you afterwards and telling you everything that you need to know. Of course, congratulations to everyone else, though. I have to say I was pretty impressed with our candidates this year. I liked everything from the manifestos to the speeches to the way you held yourself through the Q&As. You've been fantastic, and we're lucky as a society to have such amazing people want to be part of our committee. So, with this being said, I think it's time to move on to the position of treasurer. And we are going to start by playing the video that Annabelle has created for us. So here's the video of Annabelle holding her speech.
Hi, my name's Annabelle, and I'm a second year biochemistry student, and I'm running for the treasurer position in the CompSoc Edinburgh Society. The reason why I wanted to apply is because I wanted to see more engagement in my knowledge in terms of computer science, tech, and informatics, and how that's applied to computational biology, biosynthetics, and all around the other aspects of biochemistry in general. But that's obviously not enough reason for you to vote for me aside from my interest in the computer science field. You should vote for me as your treasurer because I am really good with dealing with large sums of money, and I can also be responsible when it comes to tight budgets or finances. For example, in my previous high school, I've organized inter-school telematches before where I've had to deal with budget planning and how we were going to offer food and drinks at the event and how the budgets are planned out, as well as deciding in the committee about the fees in the events that we were going to hold. Yeah, and in terms of profits made, etc., etc. Yes, so you should vote for me because I can deal with finances responsibly.
Possibly. I think we're going to have a brief Q&A with Annabelle. Yeah. Hello, Annabelle.
Hi.
I think your microphone is not ideal at the moment. Like there's a slightly weird sound. It's you kind of sound like a robot from the future, but it's all right. Like it's very electric. I don't know. Anyway, let's see. We haven't received any questions yet for this role. We're still open to questions on Slido if people want to ask anything. Let's just give it a minute and see if anyone asks something because there is a delay between this and yeah, and the time they can actually post questions. Looks like we still have no questions. Oh, how would you ensure? No, first, this is not a question, but this is a very important topic. What do you think about the microwave in AT? Yeah. Yeah, there's a question that says, okay, so it might be a good idea to try and refresh your page. That might make the sound a bit better, I'm told. So try
Okay.
and do that. And
Is it better now?
yeah, it's way better, finally. Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah,
so
no problem.
a serious question now. How would you ensure CompSoc is fiscally responsible?
Um, I'll make sure, like, I have an, a pretty funny answer for that, but it's fine. Well, I guess we shouldn't spend most of our money on pizza because from what I've seen from the ComSoc team, there's always been like a generous free flow of pizza. I think we should budget that. And also, I guess we should discuss as a whole committee board on like what the priorities should be so that we can be well, yeah, fiscally responsible with the money and stuff.
Yeah,
Are
that's
there any
nice.
other
Let's see,
questions?
anything else? Um, do you partake in recreational spreadsheets?
Oh, do you mean like do I use Excel for fun?
Of course,
Um,
yeah. I mean that's mandatory.
well, yeah, so like I don't mean to sound like a boring person, but I do like put my expenses in a spreadsheet where I see how much I've spent in a day and a week, and if I've like overspent for a week, I'll label that cell as red. I don't know. So yeah, I do do recreational spreadsheets.
Yes. Okay. Apparently, there's a question in the Discord that was too long for Slido, but I don't know on what channel it was.
Okay.
Wait, let me see if I can find it. Hmm. Anyway, I'll ask another question and see if I'll find this one.
Okay.
This is an important um, question, and that
Yeah.
is, SIGs are a big part of CompSoc, and they should also get a lot of flexibility in using the budget. Will you give SIGs the attention they deserve, and how?
Yeah, so like as I've heard from the first year representatives, I've seen I've seen the six teams as well, like on the ComSoc website. So we're gonna try and make the six societies as sub society as a priority by well beginning with me, like obviously looking at their Discord and any form of social media platform they're having, and if they have any questions regarding how much they would need, it will obviously go through me first, and then I will bring it up to the committee board about uh, about how important they are and how significant they do make the ComSoc society. Yeah, so that's how I'm gonna I'm gonna emphasize a lot more priority in that sense.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to be on the Discord platform every day to see if there are any, you know.
That's a good start for sure.
Okay.
Let me just see if we have any other really important questions. Okay, so this is absolutely crucial. Why do you hate pizza?
Oh no, I don't hate pizza. I was eating pizza all throughout um the video call just
Okay,
now. No, I don't hate pizza. Just to
that's the
clarify, I
correct
love
answer.
pizza. Yeah.
Another one, can you give any examples of difficult, preferably non-personal, financial decisions you've had to make before?
Difficult non-personal financial decisions. Can you give me an example of like a
I think they
financial
refer, if you ever made financial decisions that didn't just directly concern your own life, as in, not getting that pizza from Papa John's and getting from getting it from somewhere else. Like, you know what I mean? Like getting a something cheaper instead of something more expensive, or like just not things that would
Yeah.
concern your day-to-day life.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've mentioned in the speech you guys watched, which was like incredibly embarrassing, but it's fine. I've mentioned that I've been on the committee board for a lot of societies in high school, and I generally do uh, stumble upon like hard decisions when it comes to planning something for events, especially in terms of like giving out money to rent a sports hall, like budgeting that, and in terms of like the food and drinks during the event, and obviously a lot of other things where I had to like decide which one would have a bigger priority, and we would decide like, oh, okay, so if we want this particular sports hall or something, probably less amount of the money would go to the food and drinks, or other aspects
Yeah.
of the event planning. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have two more questions here.
Okay.
First one is, can you elaborate on how you would budget pizza costs?
Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe we'll put like 150 pounds budget on pizza, like for the whole year. Oh, well, no, that's pretty stingy.
Yeah,
Maybe,
no, I can tell you from
yeah,
last year it was like way more than that per every physical event. But unfortunately this year we haven't really had, uh,
yeah,
we haven't had physical events, so it's pretty hard to deliver pizza to everyone's house when they're
yeah.
joining.
So I'm so sorry for anyone who's like really interested in the society because of the pizza. Well, I am too as well, but like, I'm sorry. Is there
Yeah. I think there's one more question, yeah. Should the person who lost the Appleton Tower microwave rights be banned from CompSoc and fined? Would you be competent at administering the issuing of the fine to said person? This is a very important topic, as you can see. So,
Yes, I honestly have no idea the dynamic of the issue. Like I've never heard of this, but I'm sure I can, like, I'd be competent enough to administer the fine. Like I may not look like a very fierce person, but I can sometimes, and I can, well, give that fine to whoever the person is who destroyed the microwave. Yeah.
okay.
Am I
Let's
supposed to
see.
justify why? No, right? Okay.
I mean, it's your choice. I'm not giving any
It's fine.
clues here. Let's see. Okay, how would you be beneficial to CompSoc in attracting sponsors? And do you have any experience in doing something similar?
Yes, I do definitely have experience in terms of attracting sponsors. Like for example, back home, like I said, I was really big on event planning. So uh, I have done uh, done work to find sponsors in terms of like charity runs where I had to get sponsors to get their T-shirts and for the run, and like yeah, definitely I've had experience in emailing and constantly annoying people to sponsor societies before. So yeah,
Yeah.
I have the ability to persuade someone to do that. Definitely.
Yeah, someone said, will there be some funding for a laptop loan scheme? A friend of mine's laptop has broken recently, which caused some problems for them with assignments.
Oh,
Yeah, this is a pretty tricky question to answer on the spot, but it got 1 like, so let's,
okay.
if you can try and answer
Um,
it.
I mean, I guess there would be like I've heard of people who are currently now in third year and fourth year. They are funded by the School of Engineering to have free laptops. So I'm sure the School of Informatics could do that too, as well as the society. We could try something to take out a loan for a laptop loan scheme if your friend's computer has been well broken.
Okay, so I think we've answered all the major questions at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's time for voting now. Yeah, questions. So voting time.
Okay. Okay. We'll just do it.
So again, of course, the voting is gonna work the same as it did for the other positions in constitutional changes. That is with the Democrat app, and you can vote right there, same as you did for the other things. And we'll wait for a few minutes for all the results to come in, and then I'll be back and communicate the results. Anyway, I'm really happy to see we had that many questions, even nearly 2 hours after our event started, after 15 minutes of technical issues. People are still watching this and are still very much engaged. That's really happy. That makes me feel really happy that people are still so engaged. And yeah, thank you for doing this. It clearly looks as if a lot of people care about CompSoc and about the treasurer position in particular, because we received so many questions for this. I had to pick and choose, and I still left quite a few out. We're still waiting for votes to come in, of course. We don't want to close the voting ahead of time. Want to give it enough time so that everyone gets to have their say, basically. Still waiting, of course. Votes keep coming in, so we have to give it an extra minute or so. At least everything seems to be running smoothly now, and we are, of course, reaching the end of our event. we are still waiting because it seems like votes are still coming in, so we don't want to rush this process. We want to do things right. The tension is becoming unbearable. Okay, looks like we actually have our results, finally. After a long voting process. We are now, or I am now, happy to welcome Annabelle Young as our new treasurer. So welcome, Annabelle. You're part of the team. Welcome to the CompSoc committee. Thank you for participating in this and for doing so well. You were great in your speech and in your questions, and it seems like people have appreciated that and have voted you in as the new treasurer of CompSoc. So, of course, we'll contact you directly afterwards to talk about the specifics of the job and everything that you need to know before you're able to start. But for now, I can give you a warm welcome to the CompSoc committee. And this has been the final thing on today's list of things to do. Just to end, I want to say welcome Artie and welcome Annabelle to the CompSoc committee. And thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for sticking with us even through the technical difficulties for just over 2 hours now. And I hope that despite everything that happened, it's still been a nice event and I hope people have enjoyed it. And I'm glad to welcome 2 new people into our committee. So again, thank you everyone for watching. Hope to see you at our event soon. And yeah, CompSoc loves you.